You're listening to Clarity on Fire, a podcast for people who know what they don't want out of their life and career, but aren't sure what they'd rather be doing.
In a world where it's easy to exist, but hard to feel alive, we, Kristen
and Rachel,
two certified life and career coaches, are here to help you cut through the information overload, get unstuck, and focus not just on how you can have a career you're passionate about, but how to create a whole life that feels fulfilling.
So join us here, where we serve up inspiration and down-to-earth wisdom in a way that only two best friends can.
We want you to experience the relief of knowing that, yes, you're allowed to want more out of your life and career.
And no, you don't have to wander through the dark anymore. Our job is to light the fire that shows you the way. Let's go. Hi.
Hey.
I don't even know how to start this episode. So I think I'm just going to dive in. This is going to sound like an announcement, and it is, but it's really more just, okay, I don't even know. We're doing things new and different. And I wanted to have a whole conversation about how that's okay. Because I think a lot of people feel like they can't just change their minds. And they can't just make a pivot if they want to freaking make a pivot. Or they feel like they have to justify doing any of those things. So I kind of want to have a conversation about that. But I want to explain why by telling you about some new stuff that Kristen and I are doing. Well, some is Kristen and me, some is just me.
I feel like it's always a goal of ours to walk our talk and not only share our thoughts about things and our take on things, but to model what we talk about all the time. If we tell you it's okay to make up your mind again, make a new decision, try something different, then we would be hypocrites if we didn't test out new things sometimes and try something and not really know how it's going to work or if we're going to keep it forever. So I feel like to be in integrity, we want to walk our talk and we want to be transparent about it all the way through. So that's kind of what today is. It's like, hey, here's some things that we're doing, partially that you might want to know about, just because if you are following the podcast, you probably care a little bit about what we're doing in Clarity on Fireland, but also to show it's okay. Nothing bad is going to happen if you try something. You can always change your mind later. So with that premise, do you want to start with the first new thing?
Well, yes, even though this thing is not actually new, it's really old. And we're resurrecting it.
There you go. We made a decision years ago. We changed our mind. We're doing it again.
Yeah. So way back, 2014, literally. So like, wasn't quite 9 years, it was like late 2014. So maybe 8.5 years ago, way before we had a podcast, we offered this thing called Passion Power Hours. And they were like single coaching sessions. And we would coach you around whatever you wanted to be coached around. We would also do, if you wanted, a debrief on your, like a mini debrief on your passion profile quiz result. And people liked them. And then we stopped doing them. Do you remember why we stopped doing them? Because I think I do, but I would be curious. This is kind of like, I don't know. This is like testing memory, like to see if you and I are in accord about why we stopped doing it.
I think we stopped doing it because if I recollect, because my memory is not great, but I feel like it was a lot to get into in an hour sometimes. And I'm not sure we were as good then as we are now at helping people hone in on what specific thing do you want to get into in our time. And so people would come with the big question of, I don't know what I want to do with my life. And we had an hour to try to dig into it. And that's never how I would approach it now.
Yes. Okay. So we are in accord about why we stopped doing them, which is I wouldn't have known to say it then. But at the time, I didn't have the confidence and expertise as a coach to set reasonable expectations. I was still in that zone of being a new coach who felt like if someone comes to me and they want to talk about something, that's what we have to talk about. And I have to try to get them results. And so it was, as a lot of you, if you're a thriver or if you're part thriver, or honestly, I don't know. I feel like this is legitimate to some degree for everybody. Pressure really kills the enjoyment of something. And I felt like because of how I was experiencing it and interpreting it, it felt like such high pressure to get it right and to do it right and to help people more than is actually reasonably possible in 1 hour that I had to stop doing it because it was not fun or enjoyable anymore.
And we could tell that it wasn't as helpful as a full coaching experience because we have a lot more time and bandwidth to answer those big questions in a full coaching package. But what we really needed to recognize is you can still do single sessions. You just can't do them the same way that you do a full 3 or 6 month coaching experience. They serve a different purpose.
And people should be smart enough to understand that if you just explain it and you set expectations and you have boundaries around what you can and can't do in that time.
It's our job as the experts, as coaches, to say,
yeah,
I know what is going to get you the best outcome within this next hour. I don't expect you to come into coaching knowing what it's going to be like, what's achievable, what's reasonable to expect in a coaching hour. But I do know that. So it's up to us to be a little bit more clear and create a little bit more boundaries around that for our sake, but also for you getting coached so you get the most out of that. And we're much, much clearer about that now.
Exactly. So I don't really know, honestly, because this was only a few weeks ago, but I feel like I've lived many lifetimes since January. I feel like time is not operating normally in 2023. I feel like a lot is happening and yet nothing is happening. Actually, my friend Amanda, who I would really like to have on the podcast at one point because she used to be my client, has a child who's 8 years old, and he is one of the most wise souls to probably ever incarnate on earth. And the other day he said, I feel like everything is happening except me.
Whoa. I'm telling you, this kid is a guru in the making.
He is an ascended master, like just embodied on earth. Anyway, I was like, I don't even get it, but yeah, I feel that though.
Agreed.
I'm like, I feel that. Anyway.
I also feel like time never went back to normal after COVID. Like we never got back to just what time felt like before that. Everything's just been wonky for years. So that's not helping.
No. But anyway, so I don't really know at what point this occurred to me, but I just thought, what if we brought that back? And for a long time, we've sort of made a big fuss about we don't offer single sessions. And I was fine with not offering single coaching sessions. But then I was like, well, but why not? I don't actually have the same hangups about it that I used to. I'm a very different person now. And I actually think people might really enjoy it. And especially if they're interested in coaching, but it seems like they don't really know if it's going to be a good fit for them and they want to experience it. It's actually a really easy way to get a taste for it and to really experience it before it's like, going up to the ice cream counter and actually asking for a sample so that you can know, do I really want a whole bowl of that or not? And as of right now, there's no way for people to do that.
True. And the times that we do offer single sessions, which we do periodically, a couple times throughout the year.
Very rarely, though.
It's rare, but sometimes we'll open up a few single sessions. They go great. I enjoy them. So
exactly,
it's a different experience.
I've had a totally good experience with a lot of them in the past year. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, wait, I am different now. And so the way I'm experiencing the same thing has changed. And so I could actually do this again if I wanted to in a way that it didn't just feel totally different. So all of that is to say, we're bringing power hours back. We dropped the passion because I don't know. I don't really like the word that much, which is hilarious because like the passion profile quiz is like the cornerstone of our business. But if you listen to us at all, you know that we have hangups around the word passion. We think that people put way too much credit into finding it. And I don't know. Go listen to any other episode where we talk about that if you want to. We don't need to get into it here, but we're just calling them power hours. I wish I had a better name. Honestly, I racked my brain to try to come up with something clever. And I was like, I don't know. I can't think of anything. So it's just going to be power hours. And the difference is that this time they're going to be longer than an hour. The power part is an extra 15 minutes. So we're doing 75-minute coaching sessions, which I think will help, especially if we've never met you before. Like it'll give us a little bit of extra time to get to know you and then work through whatever thing you brought us. And we'll be able to get clear on like ahead of time what you're bringing us and if it's reasonable. And if not, we will make sure that whatever we will hone it down until we think we can help you in an hour and make sure that whatever you want to work on is feasible. And the cool thing, which we did last time and we are going to do again, is that we allow people to use it as like, if they decide to move forward with one-on-one coaching at some point, then they can use what they paid for the Passion Power Hour. Sorry, just Power Hour toward coaching. So it's like, so if you like a little deposit on coaching if you decide to do it.
And if you decide to do a full coaching package, it's like you got that power hour for free. So you can do the sample. And just like at the ice cream shop, if you buy the whole cone, you don't pay for the sample, you just get the sample. So, and sometimes you might just need that power hour. So there might be sometimes moments where you have a big decision or there's something that you need somebody who has an objective perspective to help you get to the core of it because you're going around in circles in your head. And that might be enough for the time being. So that, we will always help you determine, usually ahead of time, what we're going to get into in that session so that you can make the most of it. So you don't have to figure that out. If you're like, hey, this is what I generally want to talk about. Is that reasonable? Is that specific enough? We'll let you know.
Also, a point to note is that if someone signs up for a power hour and we're in between coaching enrollments and they want to actually move forward with coaching, we won't make them wait until our next coaching enrollment. It's a way to sort of get in between times. So that's a nice like VIP, I don't know, treatment. So if this is something that you're like, oh, I love this, I want to do this, go to clarityonfire.com, go to the work with us page. You'll see power hours on there and you can sign up for one. The way that it'll work is that you'll sign up for one, you'll go through the checkout process, and then one of us will email you within like 24 hours to schedule it with us. So, and then talk to you about like, all right, what do you want to focus on, et cetera, et cetera. Now, I will do an asterisk to this, which is we only have a certain number of these that we could offer at, per month. So if for some reason, like a lot of people want to do it 1 month, we might have to like take it down for a while and then bring it back when we're not as busy. So I do reserve the right at all times to change my mind or to just put pause on something and then come back to it later. But for now, this is open and available 24/7. And this is something that you could do right now, today, if you want to. You could go sign up.
And that's kind of the message of the day, if you will. You can do something and then not do it for 9 years and then decide, I want to try that again. I'm a different person. I'm in a different place. Let's see how that works this time. Or you can try something and then pause it for a little while and try it again. I don't know if you listened to our episode with Kristen Carter from a few weeks ago, but you don't have to be consistent to be successful. We emphasize that point as hard as we could because the point is not to do something indefinitely or else it's a failure. If you try something and you change your mind again, maybe that's exactly what needed to happen for you to have the right experiences to approach something differently or look at it differently, or just recognize that your capacity is different at different phases of your life or different phases of the month or the year. So we reserve the right to pause at any point, take these down at any point, open them back up. We'll always make it available. We'll always be clear. You go to the website and go to the Work With Us tab, you'll be able to tell, are those available right now? Are we on a little bit of a wait list? What's going on? We'll be honest and transparent, but you have to keep adjusting given where you are in life and given what the circumstances are. And so we're doing that, and we give you full permission to do the same.
Okay, so that was something old. Now for something new that you can also sign up for. That actually is not at all really Clarity on Fire related. So, long story short, people keep coming to me and asking me for something. And so now I've decided, why don't I just offer this to people for real rather than like casually only to friends or former clients? So I have had multiple friends and former clients come to me over the past year going, Rachel, can you please look at my thing? This sounds gross. So honestly, if you had like a weird zit, I would also look at that. I'm not squeamish. But they would come to me with like, I'm working on a course, or I'm working on a podcast, or I'm working on launching a website or a business. I need someone to look at this and tell me, is this good? Am I getting my point across? What am I even trying to say? I don't even really know what I'm making. Does this make sense? And I help them answer all of those questions. And then they are like, oh my God, that was so helpful. It didn't really click for me for a while that, wait, this is actually a talent. And it's why people keep coming to me for it. And it's not like a coincidence that it keeps happening. So I decided, okay, I'm just going to start offering this to people. I didn't know what to call it. I still don't really know what to call it, but I'm calling it creative consulting because I actually don't want to call it coaching because that's not really what I'm doing. Yes, I will coach people a little bit if they get up in their head and they're like, have hangups come up as we're talking through whatever their creative thing is that they're trying to birth into the world. But mostly I'm helping you see what you're trying to make and bring it to life. You can go check out my website if you want. It's literally just at racheleast.com. The whole theme is like, we're in a museum. My favorite, when I was thinking about like how I was gonna, because I built this website myself on Squarespace. I wish Squarespace would give me money to promote them. But when I was thinking about creating this, the image of my favorite statue of all time, the Nike of Samothrace, came to mind. Nike, if you're basic, came to mind. And she's beautiful. She's just so beautiful. Go look on my site. You'll understand why I had to use her as like the emblem of my new venture. And it translates to winged, if you're British, victory. And I was like, why that? I mean, I love that statue, but why that image? Like, I wasn't sure why that just downloaded for me. And then like 2 seconds later, I realized that there's this Michelangelo quote where he says that he saw the angel in the block of marble and he carved until he set him free. And I was like, oh, that's what I do. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm good at. That's why people keep coming to me. And to be honest, this is what I do, and you too, Kristen, for people.
Yeah.
Like, I got good at it with so many things, not just creative projects. I got good at it with people too. Like, a person comes to you and you can see who they are. And your job is to help chip away everything that's not them until what remains is just the pure version of who they are. But they can't see it and they can't really chip away at it themselves.
Yeah,
and
our job as coaches, and you're new side job as a creative consultant.
I don't know what to call it. A side hustle, I guess. I'm not a side hustler, so we'll see how this goes.
We'll see. Is not to tell people what to make of themselves or of their lives or of their creative ideas. We know without a doubt that answer is already there. And our job is to help clear out all the junk that's crowding out that answer, so that not only is it really clear what you want and what you are and what your vision is, but you now understand how to make that a reality. And we've been doing that for people's entire lives. Careers, yes, but entire lives, really. And now you're honing that down even more specifically to, I have this idea of this thing I want to make, or I want to create, or I have this vision of a business or a project, but it's a little cloudy and I'm getting stuck in my own head. I think it might be valuable. We haven't talked about, I know we have talked about this before, but it's been a little while. Do you want to talk through, especially as it relates to the difference of what you do in Clarity on Fire versus this side hustle, coaching versus consulting? Because I could see people being like, isn't that pretty similar? And yes and no.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's overlap, but the difference is that in coaching, you're not ever telling someone what to do. You're asking the right questions to help get the answers that on some level they probably already have. And you don't really have an agenda. Like, you're servicing that person's agenda. Whereas if you're consulting on something, they're relying much more heavily on your knowledge and your expertise. And it's okay if you tell them what to do. Actually, I had a session with someone a few weeks ago, and I'm so used to being a coach that I'm actually having to adjust to being okay to tell someone what to do. And that's why they came. She was struggling with, how do I structure this new offering in my business? I don't know what levels to give people. I don't know how much to charge for it. She was like really up in her head about it. And I was having an idea of what to do, but I didn't really want to say it because I wanted her to come to her own conclusion. But then I was like, wait, this is what she wants, is for me to just tell her what to do. And so I did. And she was like, yes, that. And so I'm not attached to the outcome at all in coaching or in this type of more creative consulting type work. If I say something and it resonates, then that's great. And if not, that's also okay. We can work to figure out then what is aligned after whatever I offer. But I think it's okay to do that on a project versus in coaching. Because in coaching, the point of someone coming is that they really need to become the kind of person who can make good decisions for themselves. And you telling them what to do doesn't help them develop their own decisiveness. It doesn't help them develop their own character. Whereas with a creative project or a business or a podcast or whatever, a book, it could be anything remotely creative at any phase of creation. It doesn't just have to be an idea. Or it could be something you've been working on a long time and you're just stuck. But I'm just calling it a creative project vaguely so that anything could be under that umbrella. The point is not necessarily to develop your character at that point. It's just to create a thing. And at that point, it's okay to have someone tell you what to do when you're stuck, or at least offer you suggestions of what to do, because ideally, it's not a reflection of your character, what you're working on. Does that make sense? Though sometimes you might still feel like it is, and you might feel sort of your identity is wrapped up in it, which is why it's helpful that I am a coach, because if I sense that that's happening, then we can switch into coaching and we can talk about how, maybe the reason you're stuck on this isn't so much because you don't know what to do. It's because you're afraid of rejection when you launch it into the world, whatever. Your average creative consultant probably couldn't do that for you. So get you a girl who can wear many hats.
Right. And we know from having a business for many years, over a decade, that having the creative vision is a completely different skill set than figuring out the logistics of how to make that happen. And so if you have a big creative idea, you don't have to be the kind of person who knows all of the steps and knows exactly what to do and how to package it and how to go about it and all the back end how-tos. You might be the person to hold the vision. You might be the creator, and the point is not to develop you into the nitty-gritty executor. You can outsource that. That's partially why business consulting and creative consulting is such a valuable component of birthing an idea into the world, is because it's hard to do alone. Versus when we're doing more pure life coaching, then you do want to be the kind of person who can make those decisions and have the confidence to say, I know what I want. I know how to stand up for myself. I know how to navigate hard situations. So it's different circumstances are better suited to different modalities. Therapy is a good option sometimes. Consulting is a good option sometimes. Coaching is a good option sometimes. There's no one size fits all. It depends on the situation, which is why it's nice to have options to say, this is what I need in this area of my life, and I might need something a little bit different when I'm looking at this particular idea or project.
Yep.
I am curious because I know that there's a lot of people listening who probably have something that they want to try. And I know this because we work with a lot of them, and they have these ideas like, I want to start this business, or I want to try this new thing, or I want to ask for this thing at work. And they're nervous about trying something. And here you are like, okay, I'm just going to try this thing. I don't know how it's going to go. I've done it a few times. It seems helpful. I like doing it. People find it valuable, but I've never formalized it like this. So I'm going to just try that. That would be really scary for a lot of people. And at this point, I know you've done a lot of work where it's not nearly so anxiety producing as it might have been in past years, but I'm sure there is still some uncertainty. So what uncertainties, or what did you kind of have to go through for mental gymnastics to get yourself to the point where you're like, I'm just going to try this? Because I think people might need to hear that internal dialogue, because I know that they're experiencing it, maybe even on a more heightened level.
I'm laughing because you're setting me up for a question that I can't really answer because I didn't have that experience. I'm laughing because I think it's like, oh yeah, that would be like the normal person's experience, is to have hangups about it. But I don't. I just did it. Like I do everything, which is why you should work with me if you want to, because I don't suffer from creative hangups. Like mine would be, if they were anything, it would just be basic. It would just be like time, or it would just be money. But like, it doesn't take that much time to create a Squarespace website. It doesn't take that much money to do that. Like to me, there's no risk in just trying something. If it doesn't work, okay, who cares? Like I'll figure something else out, or I'll do something else, or whatever. I'll just keep doing it for friends at random. But I just don't see the point in being hung up about it. And you asked me the same question, I think, when I did Forever Alone 2 years ago, or a year and a half ago, whenever that was, 2021. I was working on it around this time 2 years ago. And I was like, no, I wasn't anxious about releasing this very vulnerable, very personal story into the world. I don't care. I don't care what people think. I don't even care if they like it. It's not about me anymore. And if that's kind of attitude that I feel like you don't have, then it might help to have someone in your corner who doesn't suffer from like wringing their hands and like, oh no, what if people don't like it? I'm like, then don't work with me. It's beautiful. You don't have to give me money if you don't like it. Just keep living your life. I don't care. Sorry to disappoint every people pleaser and everyone who like is super self-conscious, but I'm not like that.
Okay, but there's the fear of what people are going to think, or are they going to like it? Or are they going to... But then there's also the fear of, what if I try something and I fail? Which I know you also don't really struggle with, but I know that that's a big common one. So it might not be, people might be able to get over, well, maybe nobody cares. Maybe nobody's going to like it, or they're going to think it's weird, or they're going to judge it, but I don't really care about that. But what if I try something and it completely flops and then I feel like a failure? I feel like that is not so much people pleasing, but more self-doubt.
What would happen for me is I wouldn't feel like a failure because I'm too far gone for that to happen. I know too much. Okay. I know that if you try something and it doesn't go the way you expected, that doesn't mean you're a failure. I have enough perspective and understanding of how the universe works that sometimes you're told to do something or you feel really guided, which I do. I feel like I've gotten a lot of signs and encouragement, and like synchronicity has popped up around this, which to me is like encouragement on this path. I'm like, yes, this is right. Keep going. And I've had that before on things that kind of flopped or things that just didn't really go anywhere or worked out. And so I don't feel like a failure. I don't take it personally, but I get mad. So like, there's like the first level would be like getting depressed over that. I don't get depressed, but the next level up I do get, which is pissed. Like, why'd you tell me to do that then? Why did I just spend all this time doing that? I don't get it. This is stupid. Like, I might rant and rave if it doesn't work out, quote unquote, but I can't even be mad for that long because I have perspective, again, on how the universe works, which is, all right, you tried something, you did something. Maybe the value in it wasn't what you thought it was going to be. Maybe you thought the point was to like make a bunch of money or to spread awareness of your brand or I don't know, whatever. And actually the point was some sort of self-discovery that you could only make through trying that thing, even though it didn't work out. And I have a hard time forgetting that sometimes that's the point of things. It's not for the result, it's for the experience. And so if you can relax around needing there to be a specific result and you just lean into, well, I'm having an experience here. I'm not even going to try to label it as good or bad. I'm just going to trust that whatever experience I'm having is whatever experience I'm probably supposed to be having at this juncture. Then you don't really think about failure. And you don't even think of it as failure anymore. It's just a thing that happened. And then maybe you're pissed about it for a while and then you move on.
And sometimes the most valuable thing about, I tried something and I've had this idea and I want to know what's going to happen if I put some energy and some time, maybe some money into it. Sometimes the most valuable thing is I don't have to, even if it doesn't work out the way I expect it to, I don't have to always wonder, what if I had really tried? Which is incredibly valuable. And sometimes that not working the way it was supposed to is incredibly clarifying for, well, then what? So if this didn't lead me where I thought I was going to go, that's helpful because, first of all, now I'd have no regrets, but there's probably something that I learned from doing that that's going to clarify what I do want to do next, or what I can just let go of, because I thought I needed that to make me feel fulfilled, and maybe I don't actually need that. So there's always clarity that comes from trying something, even if it doesn't work out the exact way you expect, which, by the way, does anything work out the exact way you expect? Getting too tied up in outcomes is always problematic, because even if it's a good outcome, it's probably not the exact outcome you expected, and that can still trip you up. So all this to say, trying things doesn't have to be as scary if you're not so attached to, I need it to work out in this particular way.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Which is kind of meta here, because you're doing that, but you're also going to be helping other people do that as part of your creative consulting.
I've been referring to this to friends. I mean, I didn't put this on my website because I feel like it would have been kind of stupid to say this, but or at least out of character for me. I can talk about it, but then to say it out loud on a website makes me seem like someone a little bit too, I don't know, who wears a lot of bracelets and flowy dresses and stuff, which is not me. But like, I've been calling it like creative midwifery. I would Again, I would not call that on a website. I feel like that would attract the wrong audience. But I think that if you have something that really wants to, this is like big magic. Liz Gilbert. Like, she talks about how ideas are things that want to be born and they want to be made through you. And who are you to sort of not do it? Who are you to not allow that thing to be born? Why? Because you're like, well, I don't see the point in doing it unless I make a bunch of money. I'm like, guess what? That's not the point of creativity. That's not the point of self-expression. That's like saying, well, I have this like baby that wants to be born. Like, I'm like literally pregnant, but I don't want it to be born unless it's the baby that I envision it being. Otherwise, like, I don't know. Get back in there. Don't come out. It's like, I don't want you unless you have brown eyes, or I don't want you unless you're going to be 6 feet tall when you're 20 years old. Like, get out of town. Like, that baby does not care. That baby just wants to be born, and it's not your job to judge what it is or isn't going to be. It's your job to like let it move through you and let it be born. And I would like to help people birth their thing, their podcast, their book, their business, their whatever they're working on, and help you figure out, like, I mean, you can't do this with a baby. You can do this with any of those things I just mentioned. Figure out, like, what is it though? And what isn't it? And so that I actually can, because I think a lot of people are just stuck in the birth canal. like they can't get it out, right? Like, it's stuck. They need it to be twisted or something so that it can come out. They need the limbs to be rearranged or something. Anyway, this is messy, but I do love a mixed metaphor. I do love the angel and the marble, the birthing experience. I got another one for you too, which is taxes.
Birthing and taxes. Okay. Two things nobody can avoid.
Yep. Well, yeah. I want to create the feeling that I have for people when someone else does my taxes. Like, I find that process, I say this on my website, like, very overwhelming. I don't like all the spreadsheets, all of the reports. It makes me feel incredibly dumb. Like, every time I even try to do it, even just to get the things together to send to someone else, I'm not even trying to do it myself. It makes me feel really incompetent, and it makes me want to cry. Like, I feel so overwhelmed by incompetence. And like, I'm not doing it right. And am I going to have to pay way more money because I'm dumb? Or is the IRS going to come after me because I didn't do this right? I just figuratively and literally want to be able to throw a bunch of documents at someone and be like, look at this. And then tell me, make sense of it. Tell me what matters and what doesn't. Because some reports I've created are superfluous. I don't need these, but I think I do. Which ones matter? Which ones don't? Tell me what to do. Tell me what to pay. Make sure I'm not overpaying. And then tell me exactly what amount to pay. And then I will, like, go home. That is what I want in my taxes. I cannot do taxes for you, but that I could do for your creative thing. If that is how you feel about your creative project, I could be your CPA, creatively speaking. Okay, do you have enough analogies from me now?
You are a CPA / midwife
slash sculptor.
You need any of those things in a creative sense. You now know where to go.
Yes.
And if you if you have been thinking about trying something, but you're feeling a little nervous, you're feeling concerned about how people are going to react, or is this going to flop? You can infuse a little Rachel energy. Just, I don't really care what people think. And okay, if it doesn't work out, great. That's probably exactly what needed to happen. It's just a little bit of healthy detachment. I think we can get a little caught up in getting overly attached to things that you do or ideas that you have needing to turn out a certain way for you to feel good about yourself. And if you don't connect those things, then it's so much lighter to just try stuff. If your worth, if your sense of your confidence in yourself has nothing to do with how something turned out that you tried, how freeing is that?
Also, who are you to say how it turned out? You need a lot of hindsight in order to really ever effectively say how something turned out. Like, as of right now, I wrote a whole memoir. Like, it is 50,000 words. Like, that's a book. I have written a book that has not been published. It became a podcast that people have listened to, but it not to the degree that this podcast is listened to. Not nearly so many downloads. It should be a top 10 noteworthy podcast. It's that good, in my opinion. It's really freaking good. Everyone who listens to it says the same thing.
This
really
is good.
Really freaking good. Like, why is this not one podcast awards? I'm like, because I haven't submitted it for any, because I haven't tried to promote it. That's on me. I could publish that at some point. Maybe I will. Like, right now, it looks like the result is small and minimal, even though I don't necessarily measure it like that, because who's to say it won't, get published or get a wider audience at some point? I think it will, when I'm like focused on that, and when that, I don't know, when it comes back around. Also, how could you measure impact? Exactly. Like, there are a lot of people who have listened and who've really enjoyed it, and for whom it's made a huge difference in their life. Shouldn't I be satisfied with that? And also, shouldn't I just be satisfied that I created it, period? That, like, I had an idea and I executed it fully and I put it out into the world. Like, that to me is what is satisfying. Everything that happens after that, I don't really care. Like, yeah, sure. If someone wanted to pay me like a lot of money to publish that book and then it became a New York Times bestseller, how would I keep my parents from reading it? I don't know. But like, I would deal with that because I would be making some money. Yeah, that'd be great. But it's not going to fundamentally change my pride in it at all. Like, I don't care about the result. So I would like for people to try to, I don't know, adopt that mentality a little more about whatever they're creating or whatever they're working on, because it feels way better to not be super attached to the outcome at all. And if you want to birth your creative project or whatever you're working on, and you're kind of hung up, then I would love to help you with that if you want. And I should probably tell you how.
I was just about to ask, what do people, where do they go? What do they do? I mean, obviously we'll have everything in the show notes, but.
Yes, but also it's literally just racheleast.com, which is a site we've owned for like 12 years or something. And I'm now using it for the first time. And listen, I had to build this whole site myself, so fingers crossed it works. I'll have tested it by this point, so let's just say it works. Right now, I can change my mind about this at any point because I might need to experience a little bit of it and then see, do I like this? Do I want to shift what I'm offering or how much I'm charging for it or whatever? I'm charging a very reasonable amount for this, by the way, like way less than I would probably charge if I've been doing this for a couple of years. So if you want to work with me, now would be a great time because you're going to save money. Because as soon as I get a lot of people working with me, I'm going to be like, great, I'm raising the price. There's demand. We can work together. I have like a starter package and what I'm calling a cultivator package. I don't know. I just made it up. Everything is made up. The starter package is about a month long. We have a 90-minute Zoom where we like kind of do the Texas thing. Just throw all of your stuff at me. You can throw some of it ahead of time too, so I can look at it. But let's just look at all your stuff and figure out, what the heck is this? What am I doing? Let's get clear. Let's try to like chisel away at some stuff and walk away with a plan that you'll execute on over the next maybe like 3 to 4 weeks. And then at the end of that month, we will have a 60-minute follow-up Zoom where we talk about what you're implementing. And in between those 2 sessions, while you're working on chiseling away at the plan we've come up with, we will, whatever your choice, you can be in touch with me over email or Voxer, which is voice notes, for accountability and, just consultation. Like, all right, I have this idea now. What do you think? Or I'm doing this, but I'm hung up. Ooh, what do I do? That kind of stuff, back and forth. For the time in between those 2 sessions. Just 1 month to kind of get you from wherever you're at, kind of stuck, kind of not sure what you're doing with your thing, to, okay, I know what I'm doing. I'm doing it. I feel good about it. Great. And then basically the same process just spread over 3 months. is the next level up, where we'll have more Zooms in between.
So you can
We'll
make
have like a
more
total
progress
of 4.
with they can make more progress with you before they're
Well, because sometimes it might just be a small thing you're working on and you don't need many months. And sometimes it's something big and you need many phases of like getting together and carving away. And if you're carving a teeny tiny little thumb sized sculpture, you might only need a month. If you're trying to make the David, like, you might need months. And then also, I'm also offering custom packages. So like if neither of those is really what you need and you need something more, you need something slightly different, I'm open to talking about it because creativity can't just always fit into neat little boxes. So I also give people the option of just emailing me and saying, all right, I need something slightly different. And like we could maybe talk and come up with, well, what is it that you need? If it's maybe more than the basic or I don't know, just different, we'll talk about it. So for now, that's what I'm offering. And unlike with coaching, I'm actually just letting people, instead of talking to them first, I'm like, I don't need to talk to you first. You can sign up on my calendar. You can book a session with me. And like, I don't need to vet you first. Now I could regret this. We're going to try it though. I have a feeling that I will not regret it. That you can just go and you can sign up and we don't have to have a whole intro conversation about it. You can just say, all right, I have a thing. Here's what it is. Let's do it. So I've just taken out myself as the middleman and you can just book time on my calendar and we can just do it. So there is a scheduling app when you book with me where you can sign up and then I'll be in touch to like obviously talk about, all right, well, what are we doing? What is your project? Share more with me. But we're going to try it. We're going to see how it goes. It could be great. I could love it. You know what? I could be like, man, this is fine. I could do it for a year and then be like, I think I'm done. I promise you, whatever I do, I'm going to do because I want to do it. And then the second I don't want to do it anymore, I'm probably not going to do it anymore. I'm going to move on to something else.
That's the takeaway of the day.
Do what you like until it doesn't feel good and then do something else.
So if you want to try some coaching because you've got something in particular you really want to dive into in a power hour, or you maybe just have never gotten coached before. We work with a lot of people who have never worked with a coach before. And maybe you want to just test it out. Like, what is this? Maybe you've done therapy.
Do you want to go on a date? Before you marry me?
Then that's what the power hour is for. Let's test it out, or let's dive right into something that's very current for you. Or if you have something more creative, more project oriented or business oriented that you want to create, that's what Rachel's for. So we're trying to give you some more options of what do you really need and what's the best way that we can support you through that, while trying things that are interesting to us or interesting again to us. So again, it's always a win-win. If it's not a win-win, we're going to stop doing it. If we don't think you're getting a lot of value out of it or we're not having fun anymore, why would we keep doing that? But for now, this sounds like something worth trying that I think would be valuable to people who maybe don't necessarily need or they don't feel quite ready to commit to a full coaching experience, or they maybe they've worked with us before, but now they have this creative idea. Now they need a different kind of support. Then here's more options. Here's more ways to support whatever you need at whatever phase you're in. Because I feel like that's something Rachel and I have been leaning into a lot recently is like, respect the phase you're in. Give yourself what you need, given where you're at in your life, all the different competing circumstances. And sometimes what you need is different. So the more choices we give you, the more you can check in with yourself and say, here's what I think I need right now. And hopefully, if it has anything to do with coaching or creative consulting, we're going to give you some choices until it's not working anymore. Always reserve the right to change your mind. That's the motto of the day. That's the motto of really everything that we do. But I want you to adopt it and not be afraid of changing your mind.
Okay. I want to let you guys know that technically there will be times available on my calendar beyond just the last week of March, but I very specifically did not schedule anything that week so that I could be available for a handful of these creative consulting type sessions. So, that's in like a week and a half from now. The week of the 27th, I very specifically opened up my calendar to do 2 of these a day. So I have like 10 slots that week, which I could regret. That could be a lot. We're going to just do it. We're going to see what happens. And I might have some times for like in April too listed. If you want to do it and you're not available at any of the times that I've listed, or, I'm going to keep my availability somewhat limited on the scheduling app. It doesn't mean I'm not available or couldn't technically be available at other times and days. So if something really doesn't work for you, but you want to do it, just send me an email on my contact page on rachelese.com and we can talk about when would work better for you. But that last week in March right now should be pretty open, even though I will have told some people about this before we announce it on the podcast. So who knows? It could be that some of those slots are already taken. I kind of hope so for my sake, but we'll see. Okay.
All right.
This has been that.
Some updates, some permission. Take what
I don't
you
give a fucks.
Take what you will from today. And maybe we'll be working with some of you in these new capacities soon. I
hope so. Go sign up for one or both. I mean, hey, if you're like, well, my dating life is a wreck and I need a passion power. I'm sorry, I keep calling it a passion power hour because it's
harkening back to the old days.
I can't. Yeah, ye olden days. If you want a power hour, great. And then you also have a creative project, great. We can do both. There's no limit to our abilities or creativity, just our time. So, okay. We will look forward to hopefully meeting and talking to you in some of these new ways. And we will be back next Friday with a brand new message from the universe. That should be interesting.
Okay. We'll see you then.
Okay.